Hello everyone, welcome back. Happy Saturday. Today we're gonna hopefully we're gonna finish the animation. I don't know if we're gonna actually do that, but that's my goal. Let me just double check that this is recording correctly, because in some of my last streams there was some glitchiness in the stream, and I realized that was caused because I had two instances of OBS up, and that was a bad idea apparently. Because one was streaming and the other was recording just my screen. But now I've installed like an add-on to OBS, so it can record my screen and stream all with one thing. But I just want to check that it is recording. It does look like it is. Lovely. Okay. This is what we have so far. I've got some of the key poses and the roughs for the key poses as well. Okay. Now before we do a proper new key pose, there's just one key pose in here, there, that I need to make. I should probably be checking that this is on. Hey there, I'm glad you could join us again. Always nice to hang out. I'm doing well. I was sick a bit earlier this week, but it wasn't too bad. It was actually kind of nice to work from home for a few days, and I'm feeling a lot better now. How are you doing? Alright, that should work. Now, this one. love this part of the posing process because it just looks so awful. I mean, that basically looks like what I've drawn, right? Same thing. Alright, let's fix this up. I think with the body, let's start by copying the default pose. That's not great either. How about this pose? That's definitely better for the waist. What about the body? It's a bit better. Definitely a better starting point. I think I'm going to do the same with the arm. Yeah, again, slightly better than what I was using. I'm not sure if the starting pose is going to be a good starting point for this arm. To leave it as it was. I'm definitely going to copy, not that one. There we go. Do this. Yeah, already almost there. Lovely. Trying to make a rig, but you don't have to make it pure 2D or mix of 3D plus 2D. Yeah, that's gonna be a tricky one. It always depends on the situation, doesn't it? By the way, do you remember last stream the guy showed the touch controls for Blender? Wait, sorry. Do you remember the last stream the guy who shows the touch controls for Blender, or someone on Blender chat for tablet show the same video? Oh, cool! So you must have found the same person. Yeah, no, that looked like a really cool tool. Oh no, my microphone. I should have been thinking about that. Sorry about that. Testing. Okay, it does look like you can hear me. Just this looks different. Did OBS update? Oh yeah, just a different view. Okay. Cool. Testing. Yeah, no, that's a good volume. So. feel like I should be saying something, but at the same time, I just really want to finish this animation. You know, I find it strange. Sometimes I'm really excited to do a live stream. And I get it going really quickly just because I'm excited about it. And then other times I want to do a live stream. Like I'm excited to talk to you guys and to make progress on whatever I'm working on. But at the same time, I really just don't want to do it. So like today, I was planning to get up this morning and start streaming at 9 o'clock in the morning. And now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's really annoying that I'm not able to do the things that I want to do all the time. Some days you really want to draw, but then when you start to draw, you don't know what to do. Yeah, I think there was a period of time between the last project that I live streamed and this one when I was kind of like, I want to stream, but I don't have a project, you know? So I am enjoying this particular one. I don't like the tapering on my brush at the moment. I need to adjust it. Didn't we end up on something like this? Yeah, I think that's better. Alright. Ice Cream Larry, glad you could join us. Hey man, that's so cool. I'm actually on Blender right now, but I'm struggling with rigging armatures. They're not sticking together and connecting weird. They're not sticking together. Like they're not parenting to each other. Like if you're in edit mode and you go and you select two bones and you press Control P, does it say keep offset? Does it say connected? If you press Alt P, does it say clear parent or disconnect bones? Are they on separate armature objects? Oh, is that what you mean by not sticking together? That the thing you're trying to bind to the armature isn't working. Because in that case, yeah, it's probably vertex groups or something like that. But if what you mean is the bones aren't sticking together like you're expecting them to, then it's probably a parenting issue. Hey there, Lysias. Glad you could join us. So your parents make that much of a difference? Yeah, if you don't have good parents, you can't be a rigger, unfortunately. So, the joints. So the bones, the arm won't connect to the hand, but somehow the hand is connected to the body. Oh yeah, so that'll be a parenting issue. So if I just create an armature. Okay, so imagine this is the body. And then this is like the clavicle, and then the upper arm, the forearm, and then you have the hand. It sounds like what you've got is something like this, where it looks good, it looks good, it looks good, and then the moment you start rotating the arm, it's like not connected. So what you need to do is select the armature, select the hand bone in edit mode, make sure you're in edit mode up here, shift select the bone you want it to connect to, press Control P, and then either connected or keep offset. In this case, I'll say keep offset. And now it's connected properly. Boom, Dave. Must be a fan of, is it Chris and Jack? The comedy people? Okay. That hand doesn't look right to me. I look so depressed. Is this what happens to animes on the weekends? Yes, I am feeling a little low energy today. I am excited to finish this project though. I think I might just be still recovering from. I was feeling a bit sick earlier in the week. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too intense. But yeah, still feeling a bit low energy. But that's not a reason not to stream, not to make progress. Keep working on this. For a long time, I was kind of feeling guilty about how little progress I was making on various YouTube video ideas. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to start doing a project that I'm excited about. That's this one. And I'm going to live stream on Saturdays and Mondays. Mondays after work, Saturdays, whenever. And that way, I'll finish the project. And it means that when I'm finished up with work on other days of the week, I don't have to feel guilty about not making progress on my YouTube video because it's not on my schedule. You know? And that's been really helpful to me. But the downside is, it does mean I have to honor that commitment even when I'm feeling a little tired. Oh, just remembered I need to send my invoice for work in today. I'll do that right after the stream. Okay, that's looking good. Oh, and lovely. We go back to a pose that we're familiar with. I knew I was gonna be grateful for that decision. Ooh. Oh, when I appended the thing, when my last file corrupted, it didn't get my collections. I didn't append the corrections correctly. Okay, so I need to reorganize things. Okay. Move this to torso. No. Move to new collection. How torso. How arm 1. How arm 2. How head. Leg 1. Leg 2. There we go. Now let's get all of those collections into the main collection up there. Actually, we should include this, this. How? Boom. Okay. I'm gonna make it, I should make it green. There we go. But isn't today Friday, or did I just sleep for half a century? I live in New Zealand, so I'm living in the future. For me, it's like almost 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. What happens there? What was that? There we go. And now we can select all these grease pencil objects, copy that there, boom, and the torso didn't change there, there we go. I need to disable this rough from being selectable because that's getting really annoying. Could I tell you the winning lottery numbers? You know, even if that's how living in the future worked, I wouldn't know. I just wouldn't know what they were, what the numbers were. Okay, so the arm is stuck in place and the forearm isn't connected to it, so the hand isn't either. The arm is stuck in place, so you can't rotate the arm? The arm is stuck in place. Oh, so you just mean like when you rotate the body, the arm doesn't move with it? The forearm isn't connected to it, and now the hand isn't either. So is the hand connected? You can't rotate the arm. Okay. So in edit mode or pose, actually no, in pose mode, select the arm bone, and under the item thing in the N panel, so if it's not visible, just press N, and it'll pop up. If any of these are locked, unlock them. Go to the constraints panel over on the side. It'll look like this, bone constraints, and make sure there aren't any constraints like limit rotation or something like that. Otherwise, I'm not really sure why you can't rotate the arm. If you're from the future, do people have flying cars with bathrooms built in? Yes, we do actually. You know, we've been keeping it a secret from the rest of the world, but New Zealand, we've got unbelievable technology just because we're in a different time zone. It's incredible. Okay, now because he's turning around here a bit, I really need to really ignore what the drawing looks like and really just focus on the armature. Really build that into place. Wait, this isn't the right... That needs to come over here to be this arm. This is the arm that needs to come up here. Maybe try using a pre-made rig. Yeah, that's a good idea if you're trying to just get to the end result. If you're trying to learn how to rig, then it's definitely better to work through these frustrations. But if your main goal is to just get your project done, then something like Rigify is a great idea. Oh, what happened to this foot? Is this foot just missing? What happened to his foot? Oh, I just hit it. Okay. That was weird. Don't know when that happened. Now, just for my own sake, I'm just gonna switch to another material. And I just want to figure out what exactly these muscles actually look like, a little less stylized. So something like that would be the trapezius muscles. And then this would come down something like that, kind of loop back up here. This is the lat. And like that would come down there as well. Yeah, like that. There we go. And that would come along something like that. There's the shoulder muscle somewhere in there. Triceps. Okay, I think that's enough. I'll select that. Delete. Yeah, I found the process of learning to rig really helpful, and it's a lot harder to do if you just rely on tools like Wigify. I'd look up P2 Design. I'll just type that in. Oh, actually, I think his name's Purk Bakar. Oh, I think it's just, if you just look up P2 Design, he's got some amazing Blender rigging tutorials and some courses as well. Taught me most of what I know about rigging in Blender. That looks good. $90 in this economy. Proceeds to spend 80 on fast food. Yeah. Is that the price of those PT design courses? They are kind of pricey, but I think definitely worth it if you want to pursue rigging or animation. At least 3D rigging and animation, though it's definitely applicable to 2D as well. Your guy here doesn't have a clavicle, he's simple. Should I add a clavicle because now everything works, but the upper arm doesn't rotate? So I guess it depends on the kind of rig you're doing. Again, let me just add a new armature. Even if there's not really a visible clavicle, sometimes it's still worth adding the bone just because of it'll make it easier to animate the arm a bit more naturally. So like nobody's arm really rotates like that, but arms definitely rotate like that or something like that, you know, where it goes like that. Oh, I just got a flu shot the other day. I shouldn't have done that. Where the like the clavicle rotates up with the arm. And the same if you go forward, but if it's like a really stylized character, you can, okay. You can simulate that by just moving it around as you want, and it's just about how it looks visually, in which case that's fine. So you should, like, it should look fine whether you add the clavicle or not. Stand up and stretch? No, I'll stretch later. I'm alright. We'll do. Let's sit down and stretch. But yeah, my right shoulder's in a bit of pain because I got the flu shot. But yeah, I think you can either add the clavicle bone or don't. Either way, it should be fine. That's the great thing about rigging, is it's like a puzzle, but there are multiple solutions. There's not necessarily a wrong way to do things. Yeah, finding references for rigs is also a really good idea. Like, the more you can, like, dissect something that already exists, the more you'll understand it. Or even, like, just using someone else's rig can kind of teach you good practices. Like, a lot of, at work, for example, a lot of what I know about rigging for 2D especially when it's like specifically Toon Boom. I just know because I've had to interact with a lot of Toon Boom rigs now. And I think, you know, same thing goes for Blender. With Blender rigs, especially in 3D, a lot of the complexity is hidden, which can make things harder to learn, but if you're willing to really dive in, it should be okay. This is a really difficult pose. What's after this pose? So that one's gonna be easy. That one might be a bit difficult, but then that's it. Like, that's just him scaling up. That's fine. Okay. So really I've got 2 poses left after this one, and one of them's basically just copying that pose. You follow step-by-step video and still somehow messed it up? Yeah. Yeah, no, I can relate. Because the thing is, it's kind of like learning a language almost. I don't know if you've ever tried to learn a language and you think you start to understand some things, and then you listen to someone speak and you're like, I can't even tell how to separate the words, let alone what they mean. And because it's just like your brain doesn't know what sounds are important and what sounds are just how, like, a specific person's voice, you know? And it's the same with rigging or anything technical where you're following a tutorial. The person making the tutorial, it seems so obvious to them. And yet, if you're not super familiar with the topic, you're not going to realize, oh, you missed something really important that they just did in like a second without even thinking about it. Yeah, so it is like repeating it, practicing it, re-watching it, retrying, all good stuff. Yeah. What's the first thing you animated in Blender? Oh, um, that's a good question. I think I remember I downloaded some horrible rig of Green Lantern. It was a really bad rig. I realize now that that rig was more designed for applying like motion capture data to, rather than someone to actually hand animate. But it didn't matter because I was so bad at Blender I couldn't even figure out how to add a keyframe. Eventually, me and my dad figured it out. But I think the first proper animations that I did in Blender was... Please hold while I find it. Ah, yes. It's on my YouTube channel. About 8 years ago. If you look for recent work, that's what it was called. I'll just mute it. That was my old YouTube intro. Oh man, good times. So I was learning how to like model, but I couldn't figure out why it didn't render the full turnaround, so I only showed half. Oh man. Oh yeah, I made like a little Lego character. Again, that was meant to be Green Lantern. Can you tell I'm a fan? This is some rig I found online, as is this. And I was starting to get the hang of animation, but it's still really choppy. Oh yeah, this one I made. Oh, and it goes for forever. He's like falling asleep and then he jolts awake and there's like a light on the desk. So like, yeah, it's really bizarre. Oh yeah, oh, jumping bird. That one's actually not too bad. I should have kept it simple. Oh, what's wrong with my mic? Is my mic okay? The walk cycle, I was happy with that. Hang on. Testing. According to OBS, my mic's okay. Don't know. Anyway, and then I also did some stop motion stuff at the time. Alright, that's enough of that. What's wrong with my mic? It's just here. The video, to fix your issues, just press open this panel, then Control A, then all your problems will be fixed. But then you try and it doesn't work, and it's no longer there. Yeah. Or like, what's really annoying is when you find, like, you're facing a problem, and you look up the solution, and you find someone who's showing you exactly how to solve the problem, but the software's like out of date or something, and so the UI is changed, and now the thing that they're showing you where to find it, it's no longer there, and it's like, okay, I know it must be here somewhere, and yet, where is it? I don't know, because it's not where it used to be, clearly. Yeah, that's really annoying. I'm gonna just do some sketching real quick. Something along these lines. I need to turn on the onion skinning. I need to turn off onion skinning on all the fill materials because that's really distracting. And I need to select the sketch. Okay. Let's rough this out, shall we? By the way, what language are you learning? I haven't actually done any recent language learning, but in high school I was studying French. So, je peux parler un peu de français parce que je l'apprends depuis pendant 5 ans environ. But I'm not very good at it. Did you understand anything in Afghanistan? I'm told that when I was very young, before I even really knew English, I could understand Pashto, although I don't remember much of that. However, I can say a few things. I can say Zapachtu dera lug pochegum, which means I speak a very small amount of Pashto. And I can ask where my mum is, I can ask where my dad is, and I can ask where my sister is. So that's Zmamor chertada, Zmaplar chertade, and Zmachor chertada. And that's all you really need, right? Oh, I can say that. I can say, I don't know how to say the, but I can say, tash, so if I'm, okay, wait, hang on, let me figure this out. If saying, where's my mum is mamor chertada, I can say, tashnab chertade. So depending on if toilet is masculine or feminine, which I have no idea, then it would either be tashnab chertade or tashnab chertada. And I do, and the reason I know that is because when I would ask, like my dad, Zmamor chertada, and if my mum was in the bathroom, he'd say, Stamor potashnabke, meaning your mother is in the bathroom. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to know little bits of languages. I remember I briefly went through a phase where I wanted to learn how to say, how to speak Norwegian. And so now I can say, Jeg er ikke I Norge, which means I am not in Norway. No. Let's go this. There we go. Lovely. I did learn. I remember in Afghanistan we had a friend from Scotland, and they taught me a little bit of Gaelic, and I don't know if I remember any of it. No, I don't really remember anything of that. That's a shame. And once I've got these final poses done, we're gonna be so close, so close. What things can be added to Blender to Blender 2D animation to improve the Blender 2D animation pipeline? There's one major thing. Let's take a look at this hand, for example, right? Usually, like in software like Toon Boom or in software like Toon Boom or OpenToons, something like that, the way that it works is that you have an object which has keyframes which point to like a big library of drawings. And what that allows you to do is it makes it really easy to add new drawings whenever you want to, but also reuse old drawings, right? In a way that's like non-destructive. So you can reuse old drawings, and when you make a change to it, that change applies to all instances of that drawing. And then you can like duplicate the drawing, so it's a separate drawing that happens to have the same content, and then any changes you make to that will only apply to that drawing, right? Really good system, because it's a good, you get to basically do frame by frame animation if you want to, but you also get to reuse a bunch of stuff, which is great for hands, mouths, really anything though. In Blender though, you've got an object which has keyframes, and those keyframes are the drawings. It's not pointing to a library, it is the drawing. And as a result, you kind of have to choose between two methods. Either you do what I'm doing here, which is just basically frame by frame animation synced up with the armature, or you can add a time offset modifier and then you animate that in order to change between drawings. Now, with my method, it's really easy to duplicate drawings, it's really easy to add new drawings, but if you want to like reuse drawings that in a way that it isn't just a duplicate, but it's like actually another instance of the same drawing, you're pretty much out of luck. There's nothing you can really do about it. But if I added a time offset modifier, it'd be really easy to reuse drawings. But if I want to add a new drawing, I have to disable the modifier, find the place on the timeline, add the new drawing, re-enable the time offset modifier, animate the slider so that it's showing the right drawing. It's just a mess. And if Blender could just separate the keyframes and the drawings, problem solved. That would be incredible. I would like to see in the dope sheet an image of the drawing. That's an interesting idea. I know a lot of animation software does that. Also have a puppet tool of Clip Studio, like a fast lattice. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but if you look up I think it's called Grease Pencil Tools, and it's an add-on, and it'll come up here and you can say box deform, and then it's like a little lattice that you can deform, and you can press Control left and Control up to add more points, and you get to deform it, and then when you're done you just press enter, and it's like you never even had a lattice. It's just deformed the drawing. Let me just undo that though. Yep. Better if I see it. Yeah, I don't know exactly what tool you're referring to, so maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let me just look up Clip Studio Puppet Warp. Meet tab. Right, so it kind of generates a mesh. I know if you're using images rather than grease pencil, there are tools that can allow you to do sort of similar things. Yeah, cool. Alright. Let's just briefly watch these key poses and see it absolutely fall apart right at the end, because I haven't really done that last pose. There we go. Almost there. Oh, really looking forward to animating this. Like, once the key poses are done, that's when you get to the fun part. It really brings it to life. Because so far, I probably could have got to this point faster by just drawing every key pose. But, yeah, it'll be good. Adobe software solved that through nesting layers, comp, or symbol. Do you think nesting feature is possible within a 3D program? I've used Adobe Animate, and I can appreciate the nesting of like symbols. Really not for me though. I really don't like it. I don't think Grease Pencil is really set up in a way that it could do something like that. I don't know though. Maybe I'm missing something. But I'm not complaining that we don't have symbols. I really don't like symbols. Okay, that's looking good. Have I ever tried using lattices to deform parts of the rig? Do you think that would be too tedious to set up? No, actually, that's how I started rigging with Blender. It's actually, I haven't done it in a while, but it is a good way to rig. Just because I haven't done it recently doesn't mean it's not good. I've just recently I've preferred just being able to warp things in like sculpt mode, and it's basically like, imagine you've got a frame by frame animation, and you attach that frame by frame animation to a bone. That's how I like my rigs at the moment. But adding lattices is a great way to do things. If you go back to I did a series of tutorials on how to set up a head turn in Blender Grease Pencil using action constraints. And in that series, that's exactly what I do. Every Grease Pencil object is attached to a lattice. It's a good way to do things. I thought Blender added the asset browser kind of thing for different animation poses. Does that work on the 2D side? So I'm just a noob at Blender. No worries. I wish so much that worked on the 2D side. If it did, that would be basically what I was asking for with like the keyframes being attached to drawings rather than the keyframes being the drawings. For some reason, the Grease Pencil keyframes cannot be stored in a pose library or an asset library of any kind. I wish they could. They also can't be stored in actions. So like this down here, we see all. If I go to the Grease Pencil timeline, all of these keyframes are like global. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter if I switch to a different action. Those are the keyframes that'll be there. Just because I don't know why. I wish they would be stored within an action, because then you could store them in a pose library, or you could do some sort of smart bone thing. But alas, Grease Pencil just lives on its own little world with its own special type of keyframes that aren't affected by actions or pose libraries. Have I played with Smart Grease Pencil Controller Pro add-on? No, I know what you're talking about. There's someone who made another like head turn tutorial, and he actually offered for me to use it. I just haven't had time to get back to him yet. But yeah, no, it seems cool. Have I looked into storing poses using nodes? I swear I've seen someone build a whole pose library for Grease Pencil with nodes before. If you can find that and send that to me, I would be very grateful. I have thought about that, but I haven't touched geometry nodes at all. I have no idea how they work. I really should learn how they work, and there is part of me that wonders if the solution to all my problems is in geometry nodes. So yeah, maybe that should be maybe my next project. I should be learning how to use geometry nodes, and then maybe it'll click. I'll go, oh, I can do this with Grease Pencil, and I'll have all my problems solved. That would be great. Do you you don't interpolate, do you? You can one pass with the bones and interpolate with Grease Pencil. Yeah, I don't really like using the interpolation features in Grease Pencil specifically, just because you have to be very intentional and really plan ahead how you're going to use it. That's fine if you do that. Personally, I just prefer to like warp things with like sculpt mode or something. But basically, what you're saying is what my plan is. I'm gonna do one pass with the bones, and then I just warp anything to look how it should. That was weird. I got a little message saying I can't look at X-ray in sculpt mode, and yet I can go out of sculpt mode, enter X-ray, and then go back in. That's weird. Oh, maybe I wasn't in sculpt mode. What was I in? What was my problem? I don't know. I can see an add-on called Pose Library in Blender, but it's turned off by default. I'm seeing a tutorial about it, and I think it that is what you want. Oh, okay, I'll look into that. I'll definitely look into that. That would be awesome. You can combine them by using geometry nodes to procedurally deform a mesh and then saving the resulting state, or by using geometry nodes to control pose assets from motion graphics. But I guess that's 3D. No, so in the past, that would only be 3D, but then they recently they recently made Grease Pencil compatible with geometry nodes, and so now there's pretty much nothing that you can do in 3D when it comes to geometry nodes that you can't do with Grease Pencil. So yeah, no, that could be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely look into both of those solutions. That would be great. Oh, there's a one pose I'm missing. It's like a breakdown pose. That one. Okay, good to know. Still can't use shape keys, that's true. You can do that with nodes without converting to mesh. That would be interesting. I wonder if you could do something like that with Grease Pencil, with like geometry nodes, where it's like shape keys for Grease Pencil. Maybe it's time that you put out the word to have a live stream dedicated to solve some of these Grease Pencil rigging issues. That would be interesting. I don't know. I mean, for me, problem solving is a very solid, a very lonely task. I don't know if I'd be able to do the same kind of problem solving that I usually do if a bunch of people are watching. But, you know, after this project, if I've got nothing better to do, maybe I should. I think this is the thing, is like if I'm brainstorming solutions to a problem, I want the opportunity to walk away. And with a live stream, I don't know if I've got that. I found a video making a node set up for storing drawn poses. He only uses it for his character's eyes in the videos, but it might be a good starting point. Yeah, no, that would be amazing. If you could, I don't know if you're allowed to like send a link, but if you could just like put the title of the video or something like that, I'd be really appreciative. Otherwise, I'll try and find it on my own. That's fine. A live stream or video about brainstorming solutions to grease pencil geonodes. Yeah, it could be good if I make progress. I don't know, I feel like that's a lot of pressure. My observation is both you and Lucas came up with the one grease pencil object per bone method pretty much at the same time. It really was out of the box thinking and works great. Yeah, I think I saw a video recently of Lucas where he did something. It feels really different than what I'm doing, and yet it is kind of fundamentally the same thing. And yeah, it's cool. I think it's a good solution. Yeah, it gets rid of a lot of the complexity. How to rig grease pencil in Blender yellow cake. Alright, I will take note of that. So this video here. Alright, I will save that for later. Oh, thank you. so close to finish in just 3 hours more. Yeah, probably about that actually. Yeah. Um, for the animation at least. I'm probably gonna want to do still compositing and make a background that looks pretty. But yeah, I'm probably a couple hours away for the animation. And then the rest of that doesn't take long. Does that use drivers? Sorry, I think I wasn't paying attention to the chat. What are you referring to? Do you mean like nothing in the rig that I'm currently doing is using drivers. I also make it 6 if I want to add dynamic lighting by painting the normals. Oof. Yeah, no, I'm definitely not doing that. You're gonna drop a 2D FX for animators. Can you take a look? Yeah, sure. If you wanna send me another email, I'm happy to take a look. I always love looking at what people are getting up to. Oh, it's a software. You made it for 2D game animators using JSON format. Oh, cool. Also, it's like a total like outside of Blender, like just your own software. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'd love to see that. X-ray not available in current mode. I'm in object mode. What do you mean? Why? Is it because I'm in... Oh, it's because I'm in render mode. That's the issue. Okay, cool. Yep, it's standalone. It makes particle effects quick and can export to multiples. That's awesome. I would love to see that. Yeah, that'd be great. Would you ever give your animatic to AI tools with your character designs to allow it to make keyframes, or is that just crossing a line? Oh no, that's crossing a line. Like, I know a lot of people are just absolutely 100% against any AI tools, and I can understand that. I think it's an overreaction to the misuse of it. I think there's definitely a place for generative AI, but that's too far. That's yeah, no, not key poses. In betweens, I could do in betweens. Not key poses, absolutely not. Because at that point, I'm not the animator, you know? Yeah, even then, it wouldn't, like, first of all, how would you know what you would create if you're not creating it, you know? But yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's basically a perfect copy of my mind and makes all the same creative decisions as I would have. It's not my decisions, and then it's not my animation. But it would be worse because when like, even if it makes the same decisions, it would be worse because the whole point of creating art is to have a conversation between the audience and the author. And if you remove the author, then it's worthless. It has no worth. And so it's not about quality, it's about intention. An AI cannot intend. Also, by creating it, you start to lose the ability to develop further. Exactly, that's the other thing is if you're doing something as like a time saving tool, that's one thing. But the moment you start outsourcing the actual craft, then suddenly you're only as good as the technology, you know? And that I don't like. Like, for example, people say, oh, AI, it's just a tool, so you should use it like any other tool, right? But with Blender's a tool, and I can use it to create anything at all. AI is only as good as AI is, and even if it gets better over time, if whatever tool you happen to be using gets like discontinued or just stops being developed or whatever, then you're gonna stagnate because it was never you making the art, you know? You test, for example, you take your current project and pass that through AI and compare. I don't see the point. Like, at a certain point, there's just like, I don't care if the AI can do a better job. It doesn't. It's worthless without a human making the creative decisions. And it can spend the spare time to improve skills that you haven't pushed previously. Yeah, I don't. Okay. Here's the thing. Here's a good use of AI. Okay, and even then, I probably wouldn't use it like this. If you want to No, even this. I was about to say if you want to like develop a specific skill like character sculpting, then you could generate a design and then just use that as a practice for sculpting it. But then it's like just use someone else's concept art because again, you want to have real world intentional design decisions, not something that's being made up by something that doesn't even really exist. Art and animation is the artist's intent, plus the artist's ability, plus the constraints of the medium, plus the audience interpretation. Exactly. And I feel like AI takes away artist intent, it limits artist ability, it has its own constraints of medium, because I think there's an argument to say it's its own medium, um, and it has its own limitations in that sense. And then also I feel like audiences are just less invested. I know that I look at something AI and I'm like, I don't want to. When I make a painting, right, I often leave out detail because it makes it in specific areas because it's up to the audience to do a little bit of work themselves to decode the image, right? And when I see an AI generated image, even if it has all those same tricks where it's like leaving details in certain areas and not others so that you have to do the work, I don't want to do the work because the artist didn't do the work, you know? And so I just, yeah. Also, people who do AI try to hide that it's AI because people don't like it. Yeah, that's a big problem. It's like I can understand people's arguments for AI, but the moment you're like, "Hey, no, don't tell people that it's AI," they might think less of it. It's like, yeah, they might think less of it. They're free to. Anyway. Lovely. Why would I listen to something that nobody bothered to say? Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's like in certain areas it's just an automation tool, which is fine. It doesn't take away the author's intent. But then often, usually, it's like, yeah, you're not saying anything, you know? It's there was I don't think that this was about AI, but I remember seeing on social media a while ago, I think it was like a portion of a play or something, and there were these two characters who were having an argument about art. And one person saying, oh, art is all about what the artist is saying, right? And the other person saying, but there are paintings who I don't even know who painted it, and yet the painting's beautiful. And the other person was saying, yeah, but it doesn't matter that you don't know who painted it or what they were trying to convey. They still exist, and so it's still worth, like, they're still saying something, and that's what makes it art. And then they used an example where they say, if I say I love you, that means something very different than if your wife says I love you, you know? And I think that's the thing with AI, is it's like you have a message without an author. You have a sentence without someone saying it. And that would be like if something fell off a shelf and it happened to make a sound that mimics a human voice as saying, hello, how are you? It's just random. No one was saying, hello, how are you? That's purely the audience's interpolation. Or it's like, there's that classic thing where, okay, two people come across a number on the ground that's like written in the dirt, right? And one person says, oh, it's a 6. And the other person's standing on the other side and says, no, it's a 9. Well, clearly, if you go back in time, somebody came along and wrote it, and they either wrote it to be a 6 or a 9. And so one of them is correct, right? Even if we don't know who was correct, one of them was correct. Whereas if it was nobody who wrote the 6 or the 9, and it was just like a weird wind pattern that happened to engrave a weird pattern in the ground that looks like a 6 or a 9, then they're both wrong, and it's neither a 6 or a 9. And I think that's the thing with AI, is that like it can give the appearance of detail. It can give the appearance of authorial intent. And people will say, well, this is what it means, or that's what it means. But no, it wasn't made by a person, so it doesn't mean any of that, you know? I wonder where it fits, where the balance is. As a programmer, AI-enabled fourth-generational programming that is speaking a human language, say English, to express what you want the computer to do. I would push back on that. I don't know if I would quite go that far, but I see where you're coming from. I suggest that AI says more. I suggest that AI says more when you do. I sense that AI reflects what you give it, and sometimes reflection enables you to come up with something unique, and it helps redirect your art. I think this is what I was saying, Jack in the Shop. It's not that they're both right. It's either one of them is right because the original person who wrote the number either meant it to be a 6 or a 9, or it didn't have an author and it just happened about by random chance, in which case it's neither a 6 or a 9, it's not a number at all. And it's kind of an illusion that each person perceiving it thinks it's either a 6 or a 9. But going back to what Lysias was saying, yeah, I think in certain cases, depending on how you're using it, you can input authorial intent, and what you get out doesn't necessarily have to take that away, but it is putting it through like another lens, and you're probably going to lose some of that information. And I think a lot of people, most people who use AI, are not getting a reflection of their own input. They're just getting a 6 or a 9 that was drawn by the wind, you know? They're getting something that isn't anything. Right, there's one more pose I need to do, and it's here. There. I think I hear a tui outside. Yeah. Also, the styles are developed by the limitations of the medium and skill, but by outsourcing the thinking to AI, you lose your individuality and your unique style. I agree. I think a lot of people make an argument that AI learns in the same way that humans do, and so therefore, like, all the training data is perfectly ethical. But, like, I would say, if you're, like, to graph out styles, and I don't know what each axis would represent, but let's say you've got one art style over here, one art style over here, and one art style over here. Now, when a human uses all of those, right, it can create anything in here. So when you learn from these three sources, it can create anything in here, but it can also create things in here, you know? And you can create a new art style over here. And then another person can learn from this person and that person and this person, and they'll create something in this shape, you know? And it, like, humans can extrapolate, is what I'm trying to say, is like, whereas an AI can only go inside of here, you know? Inside of this triangle. And so it's always limited to the bounds of the input. Whereas humans can extrapolate. They can learn these things, extrapolate, create something over here, and then somebody else takes something like this, create something over here, you know, and then this person goes, whoa, what about this, you know? Anyway, not a great graph, but if you know what I mean, what I'm trying to say is that AI is really good at interpolating, which is great if you're trying to learn a skill and you're like, guide me through how to go from nothing to where the experts are. AI can do that really well because it only needs to have the information that already exists, right? But if you want to create art, it's like you want to be able to extrapolate. You want to be able to take what exists and predict the future, and AI is not really great at that. You would suggest that AI can come up with unique content too? I just disagree. I just don't think that's true. With code, you still need to understand what you're doing and what the AI is building. My dad uses AI for coding a game we're making together, but only does so because he's done coding and knows better and knows how. Yeah, I agree. I think with programming, I don't know, it's similar to art, but there is something else. There's something different about using AI. It's like you can create it using AI, and then you can read it as a human and go, and then, you know, good code is good code no matter where it comes from. So if you can audit an AI-generated code, and then with like an expert mind, then the end result's the same as if you'd written it from scratch. Or at least, you know, close enough. If you as a human have never been exposed to art, are you able to imagine something unique? Well, no, I don't think so. But this is what I was saying about extrapolation is yes, AI and humans both need input, right? But the human can extrapolate, right? It can kind of go in a direction. Whereas AI is like, okay, I can go anywhere in here. And then the next human goes, okay, I can go over here. And then I was like, okay, now I can go anywhere in here. And it's a different type of thing where AI is really good at interpolating between what already exists, but it can't go further. AI is the most literal sense, can't make original ideas. It can only get information from what people have made and can't make anything without human input. There's no real way it can be original. I would agree, yeah. Why would I put so... Well, because that's just how this technology works. Like, that's just, you know, you can see from, like, experience using it, see what other people make using it, but also just hearing people who know how it's built describe how it works. I'm not putting those limitations on. That's just the limitations of what it is. and maybe someone will create some other thing, and we'll call that AI, and that'll be able to extrapolate. But right now, that it's not like, oh, we don't have enough training data, and then it'll be able to extrapolate, or it just needs more time to train. It's like, no, it fundamentally doesn't work like that, you know? Train on chaos? Well, then you're gonna get chaos. What do you mean? Oh, so tired. I'm gonna just finish this pose, and then I think that'll be it for today. I actually think that what you've said about training on chaos is a really good analogy for what I'm saying. Is I think a human can look at chaos. Like, have you ever closed your eyes and you start seeing like patterns in the little shapes that move around, and you start to like visualize things? That's like a human training on chaos, and they can see things, you know, that aren't actually there. Whereas an AI trains on chaos, and you get more chaos. Like, that's... Minecraft worlds with pseudo-random seeds. Equally, AI can try things out and compare. I don't understand what you're talking about. Minecraft worlds use random noise in a highly curated way. Like, it's not chaos. It's far from chaos. In fact, it's just mathematical formulas. Like, even... I don't really understand what you're talking about there. Oh, yeah, it kind of starts out with chaos, and then it, like, it grades itself and says, how close is this to the prompt I was given? And then it changes things slightly until it's closer, and then it gets closer and closer until you get a final image. But that doesn't mean that that's, like... It doesn't start to see things, though. Like... Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't understand what you're talking about with AI, with Minecraft seeds, because that really is a totally different thing. So maybe I'm just missing a point that you're making. think also I'm confused because just because when an AI uses its training data to generate an image, it starts with random noise, gives itself a grade on how close it is, how good the image is based on various parameters, and then it adjusts it until it's closer to until the grade is good, basically. That doesn't mean that you can train it on that kind of chaos. If you train it on the kind of chaos, then all you're going to get is more chaos. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to not miss out on tools that will help. But at least right now, I just don't have any interest. Especially because using those sort of tools could really hurt my career because of the reputation that it has at the moment. I think once all the tech bros move on to the next big thing, then we can start sorting through the rubble and go, oh, actually, this is really useful over here. But if you use it over here, it'll take away your artistic integrity. That's also true. Right now, a lot of, at least for visual art, I don't want to like, I think programming, it's in a good space, but right now, there's really, the only reason to use an AI tool for visual stuff at the moment is because you just don't have the time to do it properly. You know, it's just quality-wise, it's not there. I think also a danger is, so long as it's recognizable as, like, if you use it in a way that doesn't take away your authorial intent, then it's probably fine. But often, it's so recognizable that people are going to look at your art and go, well, it just looks like a scam, you know, because scam artists, they don't want to do things the right way. And so they just use AI instead. So things always just look really, I don't know, dodgy when you use AI. Like I was passing a business on the bus, some like, I don't know, massage business or something, or like spa. And they had like an AI mascot. And I was like, I don't trust you. I think you're going to rip me off. You're using Windows or Mac, bro? I'm gonna pack it. No, I'm using Linux. I'm using Fedora Linux. Let me show you. Yeah, look. Oh, that looks terrible. Hang on. Let me choose a better looking. No, that good. Anyway, yeah, Fedora. Anyway, I came to live chat about grease pencil rigs, not another AI debate. Yeah, I'm also kind of sick of all the people talking about AI. I should really just focus on what I enjoy doing. You do like Blender and Green Lantern? Yeah, Green Lantern's great. Your software missed Linux? Yeah, it's really annoying when software doesn't support it. It took me so long to get Toon Boom Harmony working, and it has an official Linux build, so it should just work. But it is working now, so I'm glad about that. But it's annoying. And like, I'm a little worried about what I'm gonna do after my current job, because what if somebody wants me to do a job using like After Effects or something, or Adobe Animate? Like, it's fine if they're gonna provide their own computer, because then I'll just use their computer, that's fine. But if I have to work from home and they want me to use Adobe, well, I no longer have a Windows computer, so I don't, I'm just gonna have to say no, which is kind of scary. To start passing up opportunities for work. Oh, I see what you mean by your software miss Linux. I misunderstood. This is the effects thing. That's all good. No worries. If you want, you can send me the Windows version, and I'll try running it through Wine. There's a good chance that'll work. Yeah, exactly. A Wine or a VM. Hopefully, I don't have to use a VM, but yeah, it's a good solution. I feel like these days Wine works with most things so long as it doesn't need to like authenticate a license or something like that. So if it's so you shouldn't really need to make a Linux specific version necessarily. I just realized the reason I'm feeling so tired today is because of my flu shot. Oh. Live stream just ticked over 3 hours long. That's nice. Let's get this done. Also, Wine finally added native support to ARM. One step closer to more slim and faster devices. That is exciting. Yeah, that'll be cool. I know that ARM support on Linux isn't great, so whatever we can do to get those super fast laptops working on Linux, it's a great thing. Like the new Snapdragon PC having way better performance than Intel and AMD in some cases by consuming way less. But for Blender, there's not support for GPU rendering. Right, I see what you mean. So it's like ARM's not so good for non-gaming tasks. I think for me, what excites me about ARM is battery life, because maybe it's not actually like. Maybe I'm mistaken, but from what I've heard, it sounds like Apple was really the first to make a serious switch to ARM-based chips, and ever since they did, their battery life has been untouchable. And then recently, Windows computers have started doing ARM, but because it's not super well integrated with the operating system and Windows sucks, it still doesn't quite come as far as Mac. But then Linux, the support's still not good enough, so the battery life will always be worse on Linux, unfortunately. At least right now. I'm sure things will change. We're close. I think I'm starting to slow down, which is annoying, because it's like if I were better rested right now, I would just get this pose done so quick. And yet, I don't want to just stop the stream until I've got this pose done, at least. It's really fun to see your workflow. Thank you, Savola Nivola. I appreciate it. I wanted to ask, what motivated you to make YouTube videos? I've been wanting to make content of my art for a while, but I've always chickened out. So at first, it wasn't really... I never really wanted to be a YouTuber. At first, I just wanted a place to archive my animations. And I'm really glad that I did, because obviously now, 10 years later, I don't have most of the files for my old animations, but they're still up on my YouTube channel, and that's nice to be able to go back and see my progress over time. And that's kind of what this project's celebrating, because I'm remaking one of my first animations on my channel. But then I transitioned from just uploading my animations to like tutorials and the like, because I came up with something kind of unique. You know, like I had been using Moho for a while, and and then I started to learn about open source as like a philosophy. And so I wanted to switch to Blender. I'd seen some rigging tutorials for Grease Pencil from channels like Level Pixel Level. They don't really do much these days, but at the time, that's really, like, that was the best resource for rigging in Grease Pencil. And so I did that, but then I was like, the features that I used in Moho that I wanted in Blender, and I figured out how to recreate it. And so I was like, oh, I should share this. And that really helped grow my channel and motivate me to make more workflow videos and tutorials and that sort of thing. Yeah, they have such a big gap. They can put iPhone chips in a small laptop and be pretty competitive at the same time with performance and battery life. Yeah, I think that's where, as much as I despise Apple as a company, that's where they have a massive advantage. Is just the fact that they have so much experience making phones and computers. So, like, I think, in my opinion, that Samsung makes better phones than Apple. I think they make better, and often, and like, even for a long time, Apple didn't even make the chips that went in their phone. I don't know if that's still true, because they make their own laptop chips. But yeah, I think Samsung makes better phones than Apple does, and yet we're never going to see something like the MacBook Neo from Samsung, simply because Samsung doesn't know how to make a laptop, you know? And I mean, they do make laptops, I'm pretty sure, but they don't have the same history with it, and so they're always going to be at a disadvantage if they tried to. And whereas all the other laptop manufacturers, they don't just have a bunch of old, still high-powered phone chips to put in their laptops. Whereas Apple's in the unique position where they're like, well, we've got a bunch of leftover iPhone chips from last generation, and they're kind of powerful enough to be used in a laptop, so let's just do that. I think that's really smart of them. Actually, Samsung made the two to three first chips for the iPhone XD. Yeah, I knew that Samsung makes like the displays, and I think they used to make the chips. I don't know if they still do. I think they do. Oh no, Samsung doesn't make the chips. I think like Qualcomm or something. I don't know. It's a bunch of complicated business stuff. Samsung also doesn't know how to make washing machines. My parents once destroyed their laundry room and covered their clothes in black gunk. Oh, that's not good. I sure it wasn't a phone. That's a good point. Phones are not good at cleaning clothes. I feel like Samsung's one of those weird companies that just does everything for some reason. Like, there are like 3 companies that make random access memory, and Samsung's one of them. And yet they also make tanks and phones and all sorts of crazy things, and washing machines that apparently are no good. Yeah, I think that's the thing. If I'm gonna go shopping for an appliance or something, I want to buy from a company that makes that appliance. You know, I don't want to buy a fridge from Samsung. I don't want to buy a washing machine from Samsung. I want to buy an appliance from a company that makes appliances, primarily. I think I can get away with not redrawing the sword. I think I can, at least for now. Alright, now the legs. It's TMSC who make it, but the designer made by ARM and Apple just personalized, but they fully made the GPU design, and that's the secret ingredient that makes everything taste so good. Right, so it's the GPU. I guess that makes sense, because that would be probably the most like power hungry part of a computer chip. And so if you can get a good performing integrated graphics card that doesn't take too much power, you'll have an amazing battery life and still good performance. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll definitely try that out. What happened to the forearm? What happened? Oh no. No, 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 no. I messed up. No. Let me go open version 5. Yes, there we go. Copy that. Open version 6. No. Find the forearm. Paste. What? Move it on there. Okay, cool. Hang on. This is gonna take some fandangling. Let's get rid of these materials. Okay, this will be that. Select. Assign. Perfect. And that will be this. And this will be that. Cool. So let's move that down to color. And these to color detail. And just be safe, let's save version 7. Also, Apple paid devs to optimize their programs, but still, I don't know how a phone chip is able to preview a video at full speed in comparison to a higher-end PC that have laggy performance in DaVinci. Yeah, I think this is where my love-hate relationship is with Apple. On one hand, I really don't like how locked down their system is. On the other hand, it allows them to say there's a minimum standard of like software quality. You know, if you're gonna release a software on our platform, you have to make it good to a certain degree, or like optimized at least. Whereas Windows and Linux, it's like you can do whatever you want, and I really like that. But it does mean that there's software that isn't well made or optimized. But also with that said, I feel like it's common that like you can play a video pretty well, like pretty fast, real time, but then often video editors, it's going to be laggy. And I think I was just watching a video the other day about this guy who works on the KDE Plasma desktop environment, and he's decided to make his own video editing software because he was really annoyed that Kdenlive, one of the popular open source video editors, it gets really laggy, but then MPV, which is just a video player, can play videos and even apply effects and such with no problem. And he's like, what if we just build a new program around MPV and then it'll be good? It seems really cool. Seems exciting. And it seems to be all based on using the GPU as much as possible rather than the CPU, which a lot of video editors use. Alright, I think we did it. Let's hide these roughs. Lovely. That's true, actually. You're right. Mac isn't as closed down as their like mobile stuff. Yeah. Although, ever since they switched away from Intel, things have been really difficult for Linux users who want to use Mac. They've got the we've got the Asahi project, which takes Fedora and allows it to be on Apple Silicon, but it doesn't work. I think it doesn't. It works with M1 and M2 and I think M3, but M4 and 5 are still incompatible. And I would imagine that like I wouldn't even bother trying to put Linux on the new MacBook Neo thing that's using an iPhone chip. Yeah. Oh, you sent it? I'll have a look at the email. Awesome. I'll download that into downloads. How do I... Let me put this in its own folder. Hang on. New folder. Alright. How am I gonna... It's .msi. Okay. Continue offline. How do I make a new bottle? add a new one. Spy effects. Wait, cancel. Delete, cancel. I did it wrong. Oh, actually, that's fine. Okay. Okay, yeah. And then, documents. 2026. I'll see if I can get it running with the .msi. I don't know if I've ever used a .msi file, but okay. Application, run executable. Oh, executable. Maybe I do need. Oh no, here we go. Next, install. Good finish. Could not find the something runtime. What happens if I click the link? Oh wait, no, it's up here. I mean, it's an empty window. Yeah, I think if you could send an exe, that might be better. Anyway, in the meantime, let's take a look at what we've got so far with this project. I'm really happy with these poses, and I'm super excited to start animating it properly. Awesome, thank you. Let's take a look. Hopefully you're not malicious and actually sending me a virus. But I trust you. I don't know why, but everything that I run through Wine is absolutely tiny. Yang animation artist. I'll look you up. But I do trust you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have installed. I wouldn't have downloaded the exe. I wonder if it's stuck, or if it's just taking its time. I'll put this on my other screen, and we'll just watch this a few times, see if we make any progress. Otherwise, I might have to. I'll try it out next time if it takes too long. Yeah, I'm really happy with this animation so far. Sometimes I like to just watch my work over and over again, see if to help me plan through what I'm going to do next, see if there's anything I can improve. I'm not sure when I'm going to finish this animation. Probably, maybe on Monday I'll finish the animation, and then I might spend some time, probably off stream, doing like a background art and like other like compositing and that sort of thing, just to finish it up. Yeah, maybe I'll do some visual effects. You know, I don't think that this is making any progress up here, this thing. So I'm gonna cancel it. I'll try and troubleshoot it off stream, but otherwise I'll have to try it another day. Maybe next time. I'm thinking Monday I'll stream again after work. Yeah, I also know that people like do a lot of things to like tweak wine so that it works with a specific software. So I should look into how to do that. Oh yeah, I tried opening it with wine. That was wine, running through bottles. But yeah, it's just wine. Anyway, thanks for sending that through. I'll try and get that working. But until then, thank you all for watching. I'm really excited about this project, and it's gonna be a fun one. I need to go get something to eat. All right.